Hey everybody, welcome to another Stretch and Recovery Friday with Chris. That's me. I'll be taking us through some nice stretches here, starting with our top, working our way down to our bottom, then eventually we'll get to the floor and kind of do the same routine just in a different way. So without further ado, make sure you grab a mat, kick off those shoes and socks to get comfortable, and let's get going here. So start at the top of our mat, arms at your side. Close your eyes if you like, but take a deep breath in and out. One more time. This time bring your arms up with you on that inhale. Arch that back. Exhale, bend back down to the floor. Just let those hands hang. Don't reach. Don't try to grab anything, just let gravity do the work. Slight bend in the knees is okay. Think about pushing your hips back towards the back of the room. And then slowly stack yourself back up, rolling those shoulder blades back. I'm going to do this one from the side. One more time. Deep breath in, arms up. Exhale, bend down. Again, we're just hanging here. We're not reaching for the floor. Let gravity do the work. One more time now. Stack yourself back up. I'm going to tuck in my shirt here because this one we're really going to stretch. So arms at our side, feet planted firmly into the mat. Deep breath. Arms up. Arch that back. Exhale and reach this time. Try to grab a toe, maybe an ankle or a shin. Again, you can look at my hips, they're pushed back. We're not stacked up on top, we're pushing them back, really trying to stretch those hamstrings. You let the top of your head get nice and heavy. Good, and slowly stack yourself back up. All right, we're going to do something similar to that, but just widening our stance. So take our feet apart, keep kind of shaking them or shimmy them as wide as you can comfortably until you start to feel a little bit of tightness here in the groin. And then we're going to do that same thing with our arms and our breath. Deep breath in, arms up, exhale, bend down to the floor. If you can touch the floor, great. If that is the case, try to crawl your fingertips back. Again, let the top of your head get nice and heavy, reaching to the ground. You can't quite touch the floor, that's okay. You can put your arms here on your shins or your calves. And again, try to pull ourselves a little bit lower. Slowly stack yourself back up. Keep that same stance. This time I want you to lean back a little bit, pushing those hips forward. You should feel a nice stretch here in the groin. And then we're going to go right back down to the floor. Trying to get our hands flat, fingertips to the ground. Hold it here ever so briefly. And then we're going to bend this right knee. Lean over to this right side. Notice how my toe is turning out so my knee can follow it. We can get a nice deep stretch here with our hands at the side. If you can't get down to the ground, you can always rest your arms here on your knee. And our goal is to stretch this whole left side. If you can, notice how this foot is angled out, but that foot's pointing straight forward. So we want to keep this foot on the ground flat, straight. This foot can angle. I'm going to go a little bit lower now to finish this stretch off. Good, and back to the middle. You can take a little reset here if you want by standing up, kind of reposition your feet if you started to slide. That's okay, that happens. Then we're going to go right back down to the middle. Crawl those fingertips back, feel a nice stretch in our hamstrings. Hold it for a few seconds. And then bend that left knee, work our way over to this left side. Notice again, left foot tracks out, knee follows, right foot stays straight and flat. Just like the other side, I'm going to go a little bit deeper here, hands to the floor. Oh. My hamstring did not like that. Whew. Breathe through any tightness. With every exhale, you should try to sink down a little bit deeper into the stretch. Good. Back to the middle. Both feet facing forward. Crawl those fingertips back one more time. Try to get those hands flat. And slowly stand up. As we stand up, we can start to bring those feet back together here. And there we go, we're back to the start. So, we're going to go to our standing quad stretch, hitting the front side of our legs here. Unfortunately, I don't have anything to, I do have something to balance. For those of you that have been following along, we all know what this is, but we're not going to use it as a foam roller today, we're going to use it as balance. So if you have a chair or something next to you, try to use that for balance. We're going to bend our right knee slightly, reach down, grab our left, pull it straight up. Look where my left knee is. It's not flared out here to the side. It's straight underneath my body. And then my heel is touching my backside. That's where we want to be. So right knee can be bent, but we want to make sure that heel's touching our backside and that our knee is straight underneath us here. Now, if your heel is touching your backside and you still don't feel enough stretch in that quad, I want you to let that knee start drifting straight back. Again, not out to the side. We're going straight back. Really feeling that tightness, keeping the heel towards our backside. Balance is key, clearly. That's why we bend our right knee a little bit, make balancing a little bit easier. And release. Good job. Let's go over to that other side. Let me reposition my mat here. So, left knee slightly bent. We're reaching down, grabbing the right foot. Look where that right knee is. Right underneath the body. Heel's touching my backside. And from the front, as I start to lean forward, this is what it looks like. Just breathe through it. Quads are usually a little bit tighter than our hamstrings. So we're going to hold these stretches a little bit longer. And release. Good job. All right, we're going to keep this nearby just in case. We might have a few more stretches here with that in a second. Now we're going to go to our groin and our hips. So feet are going to be a little bit wider than shoulder width. We're going to take a squat here, pushing our hips back, trying to get ourselves all the way down to the ground. We're dropping those hips below parallel. And we're sitting down here kind of like in a sumo stance or a frog stance. And notice my elbows. We're going to use those elbows to push out on the inside of our knees. Get a nice stretch here in our groin. Then you should also feel it in your hips. Now, if you can't get down this low or balance is an issue, again, we got our handy-dandy balancing stick here. You can hold on to that. If you have a chair, you can hold on to that. But for those of you that can't get that low, I want you to get that same stance, chair or couch or something in front of you. Knees are going out. We're dropping down as low as we can. We're holding on to that stationary object. And then we're just going to sit right here. You should probably start to feel tightness. As you get more and more loose, more and more mobile, those hips will continue to get lower. And then as they get lower, that's when you can start transitioning to those elbows and pushing out. So this is one of the best stretches you can do for hip mobility. It's also actually really good for digestion, any of those internal issues down there, because it just kind of opens up that whole area. And then let's go slowly back up to a standing position. And that's going to be our lower body for now. Let's go to our upper body, and then we'll work our way down to the floor. So, as is traditional, let's start with the shoulders. Right arm's going to come parallel across our body. Left arm's coming behind the elbow. Big pull across, and we're tucking that chin over that shoulder. That chin tuck here is really going to make sure you feel it on the outside head here. Good, and release. Same thing the other side. Left arm comes straight, bring it across, grab with that right behind the elbow, tuck that chin. And what we want to do is make sure those hips are facing forward. We're pulling our upper body across and tucking that chin over there. Really feeling the stretch on the outside. Brad, if you're watching this, I just got your text. I'm in Norwood. It's the last day to be here. So for all those at home joining me today, this is the last time you'll see me here, so thanks for coming. And release. Good job. All right, this one's going to be a little bit more of a dynamic stretch. We don't often do those in my stretch and recovery classes, but this one feels really, really good for our shoulders, our chest, and it's just fun to do. So all we're going to do is bring our hands to our side, give yourself a big hug, and then let them come back to our sides. So I kind of learned this one from Michael Phelps. If you guys remember him in his glory days, and he'd bend over and he'd do these big hugs that he does. But we're going to do it from an upright position and just give yourself a couple hugs. I like to alternate which arm is on top. But it's really good to kind of open up that chest-shoulder connection. Get some movement and mobility there. If you want, you can hold it for a second, give yourself a big hug and switch. Hold it for a second, big hug and switch. But it's really good at opening up those shoulders and chest. All right, let's go on to our triceps and shoulders, another area that's often neglected. So I'm going to turn around for this one. We're going to reach that right arm straight up overhead. Bend at the elbow, trying to touch the back of our neck or as low as we can. Once we can go as low as we go, take that opposite arm, reach it up and across, grab that elbow, and try to pull it down a little bit further. You'll really feel the stretch right here in your tricep. And if you want that stretch to continue all the way down your side, you can throw a little lean to it. So we're pulling that elbow, getting this tricep stretch, and then we're leaning into it. Keep those hips straight. Good. Make your way back up. Hold the stretch a little bit more. And release. Same thing to the other side. So left arm up. Bend that elbow, reach it back. Opposite arm comes across, grabs that elbow, pulls it down a little bit further till you feel a stretch. And then let's lean into it. Good. Back to the top, hold the stretch, and release. Good work. Okay, now we're gonna make our way down south. So we're gonna go take a knee here, left knee goes down, right foot stays up. You have your handy dandy balancing stick still, hopefully. If you need it, I want you to extend that right leg out so just our heel is touching the floor. And we're gonna let that right hand slide down our shin until we start to feel some tightness here in our hamstring. If you can grab your toes, great. If not, a shin or an ankle, even a calf works just fine. But our goal is to drive this heel down to the floor, really trying to flex that hamstring while stretching it at the same time. When we flex and stretch at the same time, we're firing all those muscle fibers and loosening them at the same time. Sounds a little counterintuitive, but you'll notice you might be able to get a little bit deeper into the stretch if you really push down on that heel. Good. This one we're going to transition just by making our right foot go flat and then leaning our hips forward, feeling a stretch maybe in here in our groin, out here in our hip. We got our handy dandy balancing stick. I'm going to reposition so you can see this from a different angle. Right foot is planted and we're leaning these hips forward into it, feeling a nice stretch here in our hips. Now if this isn't enough, if you're not feeling it on this side, I want you to take your opposite arm, just in case our left, bring it outside that right knee, and we're turning this upper body. Now as we turn our upper body, we're using this arm on our right knee to push it in. As we push it in and we turn our body, that's what's going to activate a stretch in that hip. Just hold it here for a little bit, because we will hit our hips again later. And back. Good. I'm going to reposition to the other side so we can hit our other leg. So we're taking a knee with the right, popping that left foot out nice and straight, heel into the floor. Left hand slides down that shin as far as we can comfortably. Grabbing a toe if possible, and hold. Good. Just like the other side, left foot now goes flat. Push those hips forward into it. Feel a nice stretch here. And if we need a little bit more, right arm comes across, push that knee in, turn the upper body, big stretch. Ooh, that feels good. All right, back to start. Back to the center of our mat. Now we're just going to transition to our back side here. Good old-fashioned butterfly stretch. So bring our feet together. Try to pull those heels in as close as we can. Grab our toes if possible, but shins, ankles always work. We're going to use our elbows to push down on these knees because the goal is to get the outside of these knees as close to the floor as we can. Here we go. Another nice part of this stretch is I'm a big fan of efficiency or multitasking. So while I'm focusing on opening up my groin and stretching that out, I'm kind of letting my shoulder blades get nice and loose. And I'm using my feet to pull on my arms and hands to really pull those shoulders. Feel a nice stretch in my upper back also. Focus on the groin first, but then you can always do a little bit more.
Good. Now, we're going to keep those feet together, extend them out in front of us. I'm going to reposition on this one. So now we were in here before, now we're out here. Now by putting our feet out, not only can we get our knees closer to the floor, but you should be able to bring our chest down close to that floor or close to our legs. Feel a nice stretch here in our upper back, lower back, and even our groin a little bit too. So this is the one we're trying to fold ourselves in half. All right, as promised, we're going to stretch those hips again. So we're going to still move out of the yoga playbook here. We're going to go into, I think, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, is a pigeon pose. So the way I like to get into it, and again, yogis out there, please don't yell at me. This is the way I do it. We're going to take our right foot, bring it across here, kind of sit in a little side saddle, and then I like to just transition up, straightening my back leg, tucking this front heel down towards that knee, and just leaning forward into that hip. So, from a different angle, with my stick, it looks like this. We're kind of sitting sideways, a little comfy here. Let's do it this way. It'll be easier to tell. Sitting kind of sideways, so with my right heel in line with this knee. We're going to transition up onto this front leg. Back leg goes straight. Right heel comes down towards that knee. And we're just going to lean into our forearms, continuing to straighten that back leg. And I'm going to kind of rock to my right here. And then I'm really going to feel in the outside of my hip. Now, I'm sure you yogis out there can find a much better way to explain that, but this is the way I like to do it. As we get more flexible, or if we do have more flexible hips, this foot can come up a little closer to parallel. Then you'll really, really feel it, but I'm not that flexible. So this is where we're going to hang out. Very, very good. All right, let's transition over to that other side. So same thing, I'll give you a side view. So we're going to kind of side saddle it here. Transition up onto this front leg. Right leg goes straight back. Left heel kind of follows that knee. So we're tucked underneath here. Down on those forearms. And just kind of lean into the left now into it. Feeling that stretch. One thing you may have noticed either today or throughout my little video series here is I do my best to describe the position to feel the stretch, but you might find that you feel it in a different way. So always be open to positioning your body. Maybe it's a little bit more to the right. Maybe it's a little bit more to the left. Maybe it's where your feet are facing. Don't be afraid to kind of move about in a stretch to feel where that tightness is. And then once you feel it, just hold it there. That's what it's all about. It's finding those sticking points, holding it, and having them release. All right, back up to our feet. And we're going to finish with my all-time favorite, and I think you guys know what it is. But we're going to start on our stomach. Stretch those arms out nice and long. Pull our hands underneath our chest, elbows are tight to our body, and we're going to press up our upper body, leaving our hips down on the mat, letting those shoulder blades turn into jello, and just stretch that low back, mid back, upper back all out. I'll reposition so you can see one more time. Laying flat, big stretch, hands in, press yourself all the way up. The goal is to get those hips staying on the floor, shoulder blades nice and loose, and we're just pressing ourselves up, up, up. If your arms get tired or shoulders get tired, feel free to lower yourself back down for a second, and then get right back up into that stretch. But we're going to hold this for another 10. Good. Now, as we release, we're going to bring those heels together, flare our knees out just a little bit, push those hips back on top of those heels, arms outstretched. Feeling a nice stretch in our hips, our back, our shoulders. Forehead can rest on the mat. We're going to hold it here for a little bit. Big deep breaths in and out. And then slowly come up to tabletop. Transition to your backside. And with that, stretched and recovered with Chris. So thanks for joining me today. Every Friday, I'll be here waiting for you to stretch and recover from a busy week of exercising or work or a combination of the two. Any questions, comments, things you'd like to see, please email virtualwellness@tryhealth.com, or you can leave a comment underneath the video, give us some likes, share with your friends, post to Facebook. More followers, the better. We're trying to get out there and help everybody. So thanks for joining.